Nikki. Welcome or welcome back to my channel. And today I'm here with the March wrap up. I'm just moving some stuff so I can get to my books. First, I will talk about... Where is it? There it is. I did finish the bingo for our fantasy 2024. Just waiting for 2025. But I'll talk about the audiobooks first. I read The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. I gave it... I'm just looking at my caught pile notes. I gave it 3 stars. There was romance, but it was like really subtle and really light. I think it goes on in the next one, which I won't be reading. I didn't, like I said, it was 3 stars. I didn't really enjoy it. I didn't really like any of the 2 main characters. It's, because it's, fantasy, like, colonial, like a fantasy, I want to say it's France, because they had a French, the accents were weird, by the way. It was a French accent for one of them, and I wasn't a huge fan of that. So it was like a fantasy France colonized a fantasy, what did they colonize in real life? North Africa? I think it's North Africa. And one of our main characters is in a group of North Fantasy Africa's kids who were kidnapped from their land and raised in fantasy France, and now she's back and she saves the life of the princess and becomes like her bodyguard, but she's not very good at it. And what was the I remember the other thing. She keeps like I don't know, she keeps like our main I can't even remember their names. Let me see if I can find out. So that would probably be helpful. Terrain is her name, and she was stolen and now she's back and she's in the army, and but it's not like the real army, it's like the conscript army, and they're not really well thought of. And in the beginning and even throughout the whole thing, even as this rebellion goes on, she keeps thinking that the Empire will be fair and help her, and then they don't. Because what do they care about her? And then at some point she even thinks, oh, they're never going to help me, but she wants them to help her. It was really weird. And then Luca, who's her love interest, is a princess who her uncle's on the throne because her parents died, and she's not really very good at what she's trying to do, and whatever they do, I want to say, happens more by luck than by them actually doing anything. And like I said, I didn't like the French accents, and there was like a kiss, maybe 2 between them, and that was it. And that was not what I was looking forward to. And then my next audiobook, I read a lot of audiobooks because I got back into Libby. What was the next one? Oh, the Madhouse at the End of the Earth, which is a non-fiction. Where is it? It is about a Belgian ship called the Belgica. And it's in the 1890s. And it's basically around this time where, like, people are going to the North Pole, sort of, and trying to get to the South Pole, sort of, or Antarctica. And it's, like, a lot of that exploration kind of stuff. And there's a guy, Ad, his name's Gerlache. I don't know how to say his first name, but his last name is Gerlache, and he's Belgium. Belgium is not exactly landlocked, but it doesn't have a navy. And whatever boats, or if it does, like, they get them from Norway or places like that. But Gerlache is, like, obsessed with finding Antarctica and the South Pole. And he manages to convince people to give him money. And he gets a ship, which I don't even think was made to... I don't remember if it... But I'm pretty sure it was not made to go there. And he... the worst... Like, it goes bad, obviously. Otherwise there wouldn't be a book about it called Madhouse at the End of the Earth. And there's, like, there's a famous guy, Roald Amundsen, who's Norwegian, and Frank Cook, who's American. He's a doctor. But Cook had been in a North Pole stuff, so he knew what was happening in the South, like the cold, and how to deal with that. And I think Amundsen had been on a North Pole as well. So after them, they're, like, the main characters. But Gerlache is, like, one reason it breaks down is because he is, like, set on having... Because he's Belgian, and, like, the Belgian people funded this, and rich Belgian people funded this. And Belgium isn't known for, like I said, the Navy or sailing, and he wanted, like, a crew made up of mostly Belgians. But the ones he got didn't know shit about what they were doing, so he had to get Norwegians, and mostly Norwegians, I think. Maybe some Swedes and Finns who knew about sailing. But, oh my, like, it says on the summary, they don't even get past South America, and the ship's already done for. None of the Belgians want to continue, so they all leave. And then they get stuck, trying to go around. Almost lose the ship. And then by the time they get to Antarctica, it's cold. There are two cats. Both of them die. One is murdered by a Belgian, one of the Belgian commanders, and the other, I believe, gets the sickness that the rest of them do, scurvy. I think it just dies. And they have penguins. But they don't know it's scurvy, apparently. But it is scurvy. And so Cook, the doctor, and Amundsen, who... Amundsen, because he's Norwegian, so he had to deal with... I don't know. I said he went on North Pole, but I'm not sure. He wants to anyway. He becomes, like, a famous explorer. But Cook definitely did. And they get stuck in the ice. I think on purpose, the captain and his second, the Commandant Gerlache and his second in command, they purposely stick themselves there so they can find the South Pole. And they get the scurvy, and obviously it's the darkness, it makes them all crazy. So Cook is like, eat this raw meat, because that's what happened to him. And so a bunch of them do and they get better, but Gerlosh and a couple others don't eat it because they don't believe in it. And it's just a whole shit show from start to finish. And it's very good. It's very good. I like the audiobook as well. But, like, there are parts where if you've listened or read any sort of exploration, you're just like, oh my god, how can you be so stupid? He thought it was going to be, like, Gerlosh thought it was going to be easy. He's only 31 at this point. It takes him, like, 2 years to get back or something. Because they get stuck and they have to stop. And it's just a shit show. But it's an entertaining shit show to me. They do lose some men in Antarctica, and I believe they lose at least one man on the sea in Antarctica, because there's an island named after him now. So, but it was very good. I recommend it if you like that non-fiction stuff, like I do. Then I read Red Rising, which is the first in a series. It was supposed to be 3, but now there's more. A saga. How many are there? There's gonna be 7. So this is the beginning. I'm sure a lot of people know what it is, but it's set on Mars, and the Reds are the lowest member in the caste society, and they dig on Mars. Mars can be livable, but it's already livable, and they're just down there. And the Golds are all like Roman equivalent, and Darrow is Irish because there's an Irish accent, which was weird at first, but you got used to it. There's death. Darrow's wife dies at some point, and then when he goes to the Institute, pretending to be a Gold, I think somebody said it was like Hunger Games, where they all like, he's on the Mars team, and then they have to go fight like the whatever her Mercury. I can't remember what Athena's name is in Roman. But then the Mars team's also like fighting each other, and they are just a bunch of kids. He's like 16, and all the other Golds are also like around that age, and there's a lot of infighting, and there's one character who is horrible, and I gave it 4 stars. So it was okay. I'm interested to see where it goes. I liked it more than I thought I would. It's like also a dystopia, and I'm not a huge fan of dystopia, so. Next I read Fireheart Tiger. It's a LGBT QIA book. It's only 2 hours on audiobook. I gave it 2 stars. It was, like I said, it's pretty short, only 2 hours. And the main character, Tant, is, it's by Elliot de Bodard, who writes Vietnamese-esque, as it says on Goodreads stuff, because I read Red Scholar's Wake by her, and it had similar themes. But I believe it's Tan. She was held hostage by a European or American type in this fantasy, and now she's back, and her mother's like disappointed in her, and she had a romance with the princess Eldris, who isn't great and is clearly not great, but Tan is like, oh yeah, I love her, and you're like, okay, but she's actually horrible to you. And then she meets Yang. Oof. Like I said, I listened to it not a very long while ago, so who is a good character. I liked her, and her and Tian, I assume, are together at the end. There wasn't a lot of romance, if that makes sense. And yeah, it was just a short little novella, and it was fine. It didn't really work for me, and I'm trying to explain why, but it's very hard because it might work for somebody else. But it just didn't do it for me. The romance wasn't what I wanted, and I didn't really like a lot of the characters, so. But I liked her other books, so. Then I read The Name Bearer, which I gave, if I can find it, 3 stars. This is 4 books, even though 3 are out, and I read the first 2. So The Name Bearer, that's her name, and her sole job is to talk to the flowers of prophecy, and specifically from monarchs, and then the flowers give her a name, and she names the baby that. But this time they don't. They say there's a better king than the one that is currently born, and that king will, or prince at this time, will usher in peace. And then she's basically like, she's only like 12 or 13, 14 maybe. She's pretty young when this happens, and she's like, what do I do? And the court magician basically is like, hey, I know about this, I'll help you out. And he takes her to a temple teaches women how to be warriors for a warrior goddess, and she has to pick her own name, and she makes friends, and she makes enemies, and she makes she makes a family basically, but then they all graduate, and she doesn't, because she has to go find this prince. And she meets her name's Vanessa, that's what she's picked. But then she changes it again to Nova when she meets the magician's apprentice, because the magician's been locked up because, the whole time she's been in this little walled society, the flowers, the rumor mill has gotten around, and everybody's like, oh, we need this other prince, let's get going. And so she I can't even remember his name. Does somebody say it? And it's like the first guy she's ever really been around. So they're uncomfortable, but they become friends. And they meet another guy who helps them out. Raul, I want to say his name is. What is this guy's name? It starts with an A. But that's all I'm getting. Maybe it'll be in the second one. And, she sees life outside not only the castle walls, but the temple. And, yeah, it was good. It was, It sort of ends on a cliffhanger, and which sort of sucks because you would you would like each book, even though they're part of a series and should be connected, but you would like each book to have a proper ending. I cannot find this guy's name. And there's lots of his Spanish kind of culture. I'm not sure if it's Spain or Mexico, Latin, South America, but that's the culture going on there, which was really cool. I like that. What I would have liked is more about the gods, because like there's the one that we know about, and there's obviously the flowers. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It wasn't very long. It was only like 10 hours. But still, I would have liked a little more detail. I like detail. Oh gosh, I know. I've got a lot of books. Let's see. I'll just do the next one. I read the sequel to that, which is called The Follower of Flowers, which also ends on a cliffhanger. And in this one, Nova and her little group meets up with her friends who have been doing this special mission. There is a love triangle, which there are two characters who are together, that are female, but I thought the main character and like her best friend were gonna be an item, but apparently they're not. And she's now in love with this guy that she meets in the first book, which was not what I wanted at all. And then there's a gay couple. Oh, yes. Where is that? And then what I did notice, I forgot to mention in the first one, the narrator was fine, except she said something strangely, which was fine, but she said coax, C-O-A-X, as coax multiple times, and it took me out a lot of the time. So, I think, what did I give it? I don't know if I rated this one. What did I give it here? On Cawpile. Also 3 stars. So, yeah, I don't think I'm going to finish it because it doesn't look... Axel. No, that's somebody else. Ulrich. That's his name, Ulrich. Axel is the guy that she meets in the first book that helps them in the second book. And there's another story running throughout as well, which was very nice. I only finished this because I wanted to know how that second story was going to end, and I liked how it ended. But yeah, it was just sort of more of the same, and they do find the prince, and he's just a little kid who's never, been outside of his little area, and yeah, he's just a little guy. So they have to take care of him until they can find an adult, I guess. Because they're like young adults at this point. But I don't think I'm going to finish it. I did get them both through Libby, and the third one is there as well. So maybe... But yeah, I wanted a lesbian romance, and that's not what I was getting. So... And the story wasn't really going anywhere. Like, you knew there was going to be a third book. So again, it didn't have like a proper ending. Anyway. And then I read The Harp of Kings, which was 15 hours. And I gave it 3 stars. I didn't really like the characters. I only kept listening because, excuse me, I wanted to know what happened. So it's about a brother and a sister, Levon, which I think is how you say that, and Brock. They are bards, like warrior bards more than anything. Well, especially Levon. And there's Dow, who's more warrior than bard. And Brock is more bard than warrior. And they have to go somewhere and find a harp that's been missing, because the harp is what picks the king of the region, and they don't want anyone to know it's missing. And you come to find out why it's missing, because the kid who's going to be in the king is a piece of shit. He attempts to rape Levon at one point, and basically gets away with it, and for all the other shitty things he does, because he's going to be the king. Like, he has a younger sister who he abuses physically and probably verbally, and he's just awful. But they each have their own things to do. And Brock goes off, essentially, and it stays in fairyland, which I didn't really like. And Levon and Dow hate each other. They're enemies to lovers, which is not my thing as well. I just don't really like anybody. Not even Brock. I thought he was kind of stupid sometimes. Like, the only good thing there was some dogs in it that I liked. So, I don't know. I'm not going to continue that series either. Okay, 2 more, and then we can do my physical books. I read No Gods for Drowning, which I gave 4 stars. I very much enjoyed it more than I thought I would. It's marketed as a horror book, and there's murder, like right from the off. You know that Lilac is the murderer, and why she's doing it, and there's a lot of blood, and there's horror from the, oh gosh, what are they called? The Drowners? Something like that. Because they basically live on an island that's sinking into the sea, and all the gods have fled this island, the Holy Land, as they call it. And so the cities have been, I wish I had a map. I might have to buy it just to see a map. But the cities, I don't know what the island is like. They're being like just taken over by the drowners. And Lilac is a half god, and she wants her mom to come back, because if they have a god, that'll stop the drowners. That's her thinking, and that's sort of everybody else's thinking. And it's also a bit noir, because we have Alex and Cecil, who are private investigators who are helping the police, because the police can't do anything about it. And then there is Arcadia, who was a police, but now she's, I can't remember the term, but they knock on doors and say, you gotta move, the water's coming. And nobody likes them because they don't want to move. But I'm like, the water's coming, you're not gonna survive that. Move. And as is the happens in these kinds of books, it all goes shit, and it doesn't go as anybody intended it. People do die. Some people you know, and some you don't. What's the other? Oh, and Lilac has children, and they unfortunately are killed by the drowners. You don't see it, but they mimic voices, and they're mimicking her children's laughter, and that's how Lilac knows. And so that is there. Excuse me. But I really liked it. I thought it's not so much like jump scare horror, it's more like Lilac is killing people and the horror of the drowners and the horror of society collapsing, I suppose. And yeah, I enjoyed it. I would definitely recommend it. Because Lilac, and it's LGBTQIA+, Lilac and Arcadia are lovers, and Arcadia was transformed from a male to a female by the goddess, lock, stock, and barrel. Sissel is bi, and I don't know, they don't ever talk about what Alex gets up to. He's very detective. And because they also want to find out why the gods left. So there's like a lot of overlapping ideas that all come together. But yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It's not as horror-y as everybody says, or because that's like the first tag. But I wouldn't say it's horror first. I would say it's like the fourth tag down. And then I read The Screaming Staircase. And this was narrated by Miranda Bryson, who I really love her voice. And this is set, I guess, I know it's in England, but it's after World War II. Maybe modern day, but not quite, because they don't have cell phones. But they do have like dishwashers and washing machines. And something happens, and suddenly ghosts are everywhere, and only kids can see them, feel them, etc. So they're now all, if you have any sort of talent, you are conscripted and taught how to deal with them. So yeah, that's not fun for kids, I'm sure. It doesn't work out well for some kids in the book. Lucy's backstory, and then the Combe Hall that they eventually go to also has children dying. But it's Lucy and Lockwood and George. That's Lockwood and Co. And they mess up spectacularly on a case, and have to like pay because they're getting sued and they don't have the money for it. So they take another case, Combe Hall, which is apparently extremely haunted. Like I said, a child died there 30 years ago. And there's a screaming staircase and the Red Room, which it's just awful. It like drips blood. That's horror to me. And these poor kids are like surrounded by blood. Their iron and salt doesn't work as well as it should. So they are solving multiple mysteries in this one, and it was very enjoyable. I quite liked it. I did read it physically, but I really liked it as audiobook. And I will be continuing the series. There are all obviously children who are awful, because it is a YA book, so you have to have children who are awful to other children. And then for physical books, it's only 4. This is very long. I read, I'll start with this one. The Burning Roses. It's the 3rd in a series, but the other 2 are like super short, and you can find them online. I will try to remember to link those. And this is a novella, only 156 pages, and it's a retelling essentially of Red Riding Hood and Ho Yi, who was made into a female. And They are fighting the Sunbird, but it turns out to be more than that, and you learn more about Ho Yi and that legend, that tale, and you don't necessarily have to read the other two short stories because they do explain what happened in those in this, but it does help because they're very good. Red Riding Hood Rosa has the rifle, and she is in love with Belle, Beauty and the Beast, May, in the book, and they have a daughter together. There's like a Goldilocks and the Three Bears, Puss in Boots type of thing. Beauty and the Beast, like I said. So yeah, this was super good and a super quick read, and I'm glad I read it. And I want to read more. Then I read Black Leviathan. It was originally in German, and it is a Moby Dick retelling, but with dragons. So it ends the same way. And it's about Lian, who his father was a dragon hunter. They kill dragons, sadly, for... Like, they would kill whales. They kill them for everything, except they actually take everything, not like with whales. Not like whaling. And shit goes bad. And he ends up on Aderon's ship, who wants to hunt this fella, the Gargantuan. Is his Moby Dick. And, and there's no map, which is a shame. I would have liked a map again. And they have the cloud mirror, which is the sky sea, obviously. And there's different types of dragons, which... Where do they talk about that? I thought there was a glossary of some sort, but... Oh, is there? Yes, they have a little glossary back here. They have bronze, silver, gray, obsidian, swing blades, and fire bloods, red ones, and green ones, and blue ones, of different sizes. There's some deities that are mentioned. Not really have a lot to do with it. And there's a lot of characters, which you grow to like, and some you grow to not like, because there are a couple who are awful. And Leanne gets into trouble and falls off the ship and lands in like a mushroom biome. I'm not quite sure. It's kind of creepy, actually. But he gets back on, and whatever happens in Moby Dick happens here. I haven't read Moby Dick, but it's sort of like a cultural osmosis. So, yes, I liked it. I was sad what they were doing to dragons, but I understood. And I liked this big guy. He was not messing around. And then I read My Salty Mary. Oh, I didn't tell you what I gave those other ones. Burning Roses got 5 stars. Screaming Staircase got 5 stars. Black Leviathan got 4 stars. No Gods for Drowning got 4 stars. Yeah, and My Salty Mary got 4 stars. This is a Little Mermaid retelling, along with pirates. She's Mary and Bonnie and Jack, Calico Jack, and Mary Reed. Excuse me. And it starts off with your Little Mermaid, and then it transitions into pirates. Blackbeard unfortunately dies, and he has a son, Tobias, who everyone thinks is going to be the next pirate king. But no, there's a competition to be the pirate king, queen, and Mary is in on it, even though they don't want women they don't think she can win. She's outed as a woman, and our crew doesn't care. What else? There's a lot of, like... This one wasn't my favorite. Probably because I don't really like My Little Mermaid that much. I'm not a huge mermaid fan. I didn't even really like the romance that much in this one. Not that it felt forced, but it just... I don't know. It wasn't working for me. It was a lot of straight romance as well, which I'm sort of tired of at this point, but... whatever. Excuse me. And there was one thing that I figured out pretty early, and then it was nice to be validated, of course. And there's a couple, like, I guess it's written as YA, but there's some references to, like, stuff that I don't know if the generation that's reading this would get. Like, there's a Princess Bride reference, and they've got, like, Captain Crunch and Captain Morgan and Captain Ahab, and, like, there's a Moby Dick reference in here, which is fine, and I don't know. There were some funny bits, but not, like, laugh out loud funny. So, it wasn't my favorite of the Janie's or Mary's, but I do hope they'll do more. I would like to see another type. So, yeah. I think my favorite was probably Calamity Jane. I like that one a lot. And then I read The Unspoken Name, which I gave 5 stars. This is LGBTQIA+ as well, and it's about orcs. Our main character is an orc. She is raised in a death cult. There's a map, even, and a guide. There's a map. I'm so excited. So, her name's, and I'll tell you how to pronounce it. Somewhere. Because I can't remember how to pronounce it. Sorway. Rhymes with doorway. Books. Sorway? Sorway. She's an orc, and she's raised up here in a death cult, and basically she is supposed to sacrifice herself to the god they called the Unspoken One. There's a couple gods and goddesses in this. 4, at least. But she doesn't want to. And a sorcerer finds her, and, what's his name? Seth Inan, I don't know how to pronounce that, I apologize. It's late, this is the last one, I can do it. She leaves with him, and leaves it all behind, and learns, not magic, because she can't do magic, but she learns all the languages, and she learns how to fight, because she's an orc, and that's always a thing they do. But as is the case, I've said this before in these books, shit goes bad, and she meets her future partner. Let me find her name. Let me see if they tell you how to say that. Oh, her first name is... No. That's how to say her last name. Millie? Oof, I'm probably butchering that. Who is part of a... they live in like a desert. They're like up here, but it's deserty. And basically, if you have magic, you're part of a dragon goddess who at any point can get into you and take over and just kill everybody. So magic isn't looked well upon there, and you're basically like, when you're chosen, you're put into this unit, and you are stripped away and you are one with everybody else in this unit, basically, and then your magic is used to help the Empire and hurt other people. And so yeah, they collide and eventually go looking for the same thing. There's a MacGuffin that Sorway's boss wants, and so it's not her Seth and I is his name. Oh, here it is. Suthmili. I'm not good at this. I'm not good at pronouncing names, even with a pronunciation guide. But, yeah, Sorway's boss wants a MacGuffin, so they're off to find that and to find answers about this ancient culture that was before. They worshipped the thousand-eyed goddess, and they have these, I don't know if they're the ones that made them, but there are these, like, I call them little Stargate things that sort of teleport you from place to place, and they're all connected. Where's that one place? There's like this precursor world, and the worlds are dying. Oh, this one right here, the Withered City, is where it all went wrong for the people. What else is there? There's blood. There's some murder. But I can't think of anything else, so it was a very good book. I like that the main character was an orc. That was interesting. You don't even really know it until she mentions her tusks. I don't even know if they say her skin. Like, because orcs are usually like a gray or a green color. I don't know if they mention that. Yeah, there's a duology. I'm excited to finish it and see what happens with my favorite couple. But if you wanted to just read this, you could. It ends very nicely, I think, as books should. The good guys win in the end. The bad guys get what's coming to them. Oh yeah, those are all the books I read. A lot of them were for the bingo. That's why I read so many. I talked for a long time. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Hope you have a good weekend, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.